Well, Jimmy, it's hard to get old, isn't it?
It is, and particularly if you're mentally confused.
Jimmy, when were you born? What do you remember? Your
1917.
1917, and you were born where? Were you born in Bonham?
No. I wasn't I born on a farm?
Well, let me just introduce. This is Jimmy Lee Old, and this is March the 20th, 2008, and the interviewer is Lynn Bauman, and we're here at Bob and Jimmy Old's home in Bonham. So you were born in
Telephone. Yeah.
And were you born in your home?
Oh yes, that's
That's the place.
everybody was until
Yeah.
I guess Bob wasn't. Son Bob.
Okay. And tell me your mom and dad's names.
Molly and Jim Cooper.
And they were from Telephone?
Well, no, they were from Carson.
Ah, down the road.
South of Telephone.
South of Telephone. And what are the memories you have of your mother? What was your mother like?
She was a wonderful lady, just a wonderful lady. Loved the Lord with all her heart. Loved Jim Cooper with all of her heart. Which
How many kids did she have?
she had two. I was born long before my little sister was.
Mm-hmm.
She was we were living in a big 2-story house just as you turn south from the last, well, it was a post office in those days. That Daddy had bought from what was that man's name that built the house, Bob? Coppage, Mr. Coppage. And he bought the house from him. It was a 2-story house. George Washington slept here sort of house. It was beautiful. And between the living room and the dining room was glass swinging doors, and they were diamond-shaped. And it was beautiful. The wood throughout the thing staircase was so pretty. And our bedrooms were upstairs. And a fireplace was connected. It was in the living room and it was in the sitting room, large rooms. But the fireplace butted against each other, the backs of them. So I guess there was one chimney, wasn't there, Bob, for the two fireplaces. And I can remember coming home from dates after I was a teenager, and Mother was always waiting, sitting on the steps, on the front steps. She was always there. And she would come in, and in the wintertime, I'd stand in front of the fire, and she'd sit on the floor in front of the fireplace. And I would tell her all kinds of things about what I'd been doing, and we just visited with each other. And I remember vividly the most beautiful dress I had ever had up to that time. And it was a black one-piece, form-fitting, beautiful dress. And I had been out on a date, and Mother was waiting as usual when I got home. And it was cold. and she had a fire in the fireplace, and she sat in front of it, and I was standing by the fire, the open fireplace, and on the hearth, which was the back face of the facing around the fireplace, was made of little tiny, beautiful blocks that were just beautiful, shiny, and I can't remember, they were kind of, I don't know what color, they were off, not anything glaring, but pretty. And I was standing on the hearth of the fireplace, and Mother was sitting on the floor, and I was telling her all about what I'd been doing and, you know, about my date and so on. And I pulled my dress off over my head like this, and it just went up. I mean, just shoosh, and it was gone, fire. And I had just pulled it off. I mean, God was just looking over me, or it would have caught fire with me in it. And so we were very grateful, but there was nothing left of it, just the ashes went
My
in
goodness.
the fireplace.
That's amazing.
Nothing.
Wow. So you weren't born in that house, right?
No, I was born on a farm south of Telephone. We owned, Daddy and his brother, Buck, owned a lot of property in there, acres and acres of it. And we had a house, and then later, that's where I was born, in the house that was, well, I don't know how to say it so it's understandable on a tape, but it was about, how many miles south of Telephone? 4 miles south of Telephone. It was beautiful land, and my cousin and I, Woodrow, Buck and Jim were brothers, and Molly and Lottie were married to the two brothers. And so they all lived together in this house. It was a big house and beautiful. It had a porch around across the front and across the side, full length, and across again. And so Christmas time, I really believed in Santa Claus. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind what there was a real Santa Claus. And we always had Mother, and she'd keep the door closed until Christmas time. And when she'd open it up, there was a huge tree, cedar tree, touch the ceiling and down to the floor, and it would just be surrounded by all kinds of toys and things that kids would love. And that was, but we'd hear the reindeer coming to leave all these gifts. And it was so real because they had, I don't know how they did it, but it sounded like reindeer running around the porch and coming in. It was done beautifully and absolutely real to us. Woodrow was raised with me, my cousin. Now, he was 2 years older than I. And we were raised like brother and sister. In fact, he called me sis. And when we started school, everybody thought we were brother and sister. And we were living in Telephone at the time, and his family were living on the farm, the house that we grew up in. And he had a horse, and he rode the horse to school. But he didn't want to go to school. He hated school. And he just was not going. He'd made up his mind he wasn't going. And so his mother, my Aunt Lottie, would follow him. She had a paddle, and she had it in her hand, and she followed till she got almost to the horse, and then he'd go and let it down a little further, And she'd keep following him until she got him to school. And it was, what, how many miles, Bob? 4 miles.
She chased him 4
And
miles.
Then when I was ready for school, my father he thought I was a princess, I guess. All the kids that I knew, all of them, worked in the fields. They let out school during the harvest season and during the planting season, the times when they needed them in the field. They let the school out. You know, they just didn't have school during that time. They'd close it. And we'd go to school. And in the summertime when there was no school, or very little school, I can't remember whether we had any summer school or not, but the kids worked in the field. And all of my friends picked cotton and did all kinds of things in the field, and I wanted to so bad. I'd cry, and Daddy'd say, I'm not raising you to work in the field, and you're not going to. And so I was just heartbroken because all my friends were in the field, and the princess, couldn't go. And then in those days we had, what were they called, Bob? Those trucks and
Peddlers.
Huh?
Peddlers.
Peddlers would come by, and they had long vehicles, and they could separate the whole side of it and display their wares. And that's where Mother bought all of her material that she sewed, and dresses, and everything was bought from the peddler. And he came, I can't remember how often, he came real often, and he stopped his truck out on the road, at the side of the road in front of the house, and Mother would go out and buy. And that was all I remember, really, about her shopping, because she could get everything there. She sewed, among all the other things she did. And a funny story about my mother, she was a very devout Christian lady, and really lived a Christian life, and raised me that way, and Helen, my sister, who's 9 years younger than I.
Funny story about your mama.
She was she had a huge, beautiful, I guess it was the kind of stoves they used in restaurants. It covered the whole one side of the kitchen and had a big oven thing in the top, warmer, that you could slide the doors back and keep your food warm. It was a beautiful thing. And she would carry wood in. It was a wood stove, and she'd carry the wood in. Daddy was one of these well-dressed gentlemen, and so she did everything. She carried the wood in and stack it, and get for the overnight and for the beginning of the next day. And so it was cold, icy, snowy, and the back steps were iced over. And she was going out there and getting wood and carrying it in. She had something, I don't know what you would call it, that held all wood, and she'd stack it in there by the stove where she could get to it easily. And she had a load of wood, and she slipped on the stairs and fell. And she got up and put her wood back and stacked and went in the house and delivered it and came back out for another one, and she got to the steps and she fell again. And mind you, she was a very devout Christian lady. She said, well, hell it to damn. I'm getting tired of this.
So that's how you learned to swear. I heard your uncle taught you to swear.
Oh, he did.
Tell
Uncle
me about
Tom
that.
would come. Was Daddy's oldest brother. There was Tom, and then there was Buck, and then Daddy was the baby. And what was I going to tell?
About how Uncle Tom taught you to swear.
Oh, yeah, he would come to visit us. And Mother, he just loved Mother. She put up with him. She would be really kind to him and gentle with him. None of the rest of them, the brothers, wouldn't have anything to do with him. And Daddy's, Uncle Buck's wife didn't have anything to do with him. Mother was the only one that was kind and gentle with Tom. She always respected him, and she taught me to respect him. And when he was dying, he asked for her in the hospital. She was the only one that he wanted with him, and she stayed with him until he died and took care of the funeral and everything.
Tell about your learning how to.
What?
Tell about your learning how to swear.
Oh, yes. Uncle Tom would, he could swear just beautifully. It just rolled out of him, you know. And I would get my little red chair. I had a little red rocking chair. And I'd pull it up beside his chair and sit in it, looking up at him like this, just drinking in everything he said. So I wasn't talking. I was just little girl, and Woodrow and I were playing outside. Except he was around behind the house, and I was in front of the house. We were outside, and he started calling me, and I never had talked at all. And Mother happened to be sitting on the steps watching me, and I said, "That goddamn son of a bitch calling me. Wonder what the hell he wants."
Jimmy.
She jerked me up and turned my little dress up and just paddled my rear end good
Well,
and
I guess.
said, "You are not going to talk like that. Don't you ever say words like that again." But it just came naturally. I hadn't talked, and Uncle Tom could just, rip it off, and I did too.
Well,
But Tom, when he was dying, Mother took him home with her. She stayed with him in the hospital. He was down, and he came to her when he got sick. And she was taking care of him, and he was in bed at the house. And then she took him to the hospital because it was obvious that he wasn't going to make it. And she stayed right with him until he died. He respected her and loved her very much. Only person he ever loved. He was terribly mean to his children, ran them all away from home. And the youngest girl came to live with us in Telephone. We had gone to the city of Telephone. And Daddy bought a big 2-story house that looked like Sam Rayburn's house.
Well, what was Tom like?
He was a small man. He wasn't obvious. He was old. He's the oldest one of the 3 boys. And then Uncle Buck was second, and Daddy was the last child, third. And he was scrawny and skinny, and he didn't look anything like Daddy or none of the 3 looked alike. Uncle Buck was heavy, big man, and fat, and Daddy was trim and tall, slender, and Tom was small, and he was something wrong with him when he was born, because when he was growing up, Daddy said that he would leave on his horse and go to Mississippi. Is that where they were from, Bud?
Tennessee.
Huh?
Tennessee.
Tennessee, from Tennessee. And he would get on his horse and take off, and he'd be gone for periods of time. And when he would come home, he'd be on his horse coming down the road. His mother would go and meet him, walk down the road to meet him and welcome him home. He was loved by his parents, and he was just mean. He was very mean. He killed people. Didn't bother him a bit to kill people. There was a young man mending the fence up on the road from his house. It wasn't his land, it was Daddy's land. And he was mending the fence, and Tom was out on his porch. He had a great big porch that went around two sides of the house. And he was out there, and he saw this young man up there fencing. And he thought it'd be fun to shoot him. So he shot him through the hand. When he put his hand up to work on the fence, he shot him. That was his sport. He loved, and he killed people. He'd leave people laying by the road. And Daddy and Uncle Buck would go on dates and, out there, had country dances in those days. And so that's where they went, and I don't know where else. But anyway, they went on horses. And they'd be coming back, and Uncle Tom, they had to come through it's just that road, same road, except it's been made into a better road. It was clay, red clay. And went from Telephone South to all that property all the way down to Carson. Belonged to the Coopers. And he would leave and go to Tennessee on his horse. And his mother would just be so concerned about him, so worried about him. And when he would finally come home, she'd see him coming from afar. And it reminded me of the story in the Bible about the father. Mm-hmm. She would go and meet him and welcome him home. She loved him, and she...
When the two younger brothers would come home from their dates, you were starting to tell...
Oh, Tom would be waylaying them. They had to come through... Well, there's a bridge there now over the creek, whatever that creek was called. What is the creek, Bob? The name of the creek?
I don't know.
Anyway, he'll think of it later and tell me.
And he would waylay them, and what would happen?
He would put a gun, he had his pistol, and he had it cocked and loaded, and he'd tell him he was going to kill him. And Daddy wasn't afraid of him. He'd say, "You don't have the guts, just go ahead." And Uncle Buck was scared to death of him. He was just petrified. But he would stick that gun up to their belly and tell them he was going to kill them.
Goodness.
And Daddy just say, well, I guess he said guts. Anyway, I'm not afraid of you.
So why do you think Tom was that way?
I don't know. Daddy said he'd been that way all his life, so I don't know why. He would go off to Tennessee, and his mother, maybe I said that, would go all the way down the road when she spotted him coming home.
Well, tell about you and Woodrow when you were little kids and the cow.
Oh, that spot is still there, and hadn't been too many years ago. It was when that couple, Lynn knows them too, and they lived down there. I can't remember now. Anyway, they now live in Bonham, have a place out in the country here.
Woodrow and the cow.
You had to go.
Oh, there was a grove of trees across catty-cornered from the house. The house was here, and the trees were down there. It had trees all the way around, everywhere. It was forest. But it had trees down there, and the place had been cleaned out and made into a place where you could sit and whatever you wanted to do. But the cows would come down there too, just wandering around in the pasture, and they were gentle. They'd come down and go around through the trees and back out in the pasture. And so Woodrow and I were playing down there, and this steer came down, and he was wandering around, and Woodrow lariated him, threw the lariat around his head, and was holding onto the rope, but it got half hitched around his ankle, and he didn't know it. And the cow really started running. He turned her loose, and she was just going in and out from trees, and here was Woodrow, me, I was holding the rope behind Woodrow. Well, he was bigger than I was and had more sense than I did, so he turned loose, and here I was bobbing along with the thing half hitched around my ankle, pull me through all these leaves and dirt and sticks, and my hip was just full of all that stuff, and took all the skin off and part of the flesh. And Woodrow was trying to stop her. He finally got her stopped, but anyway, got me loose from the thing. And I went home, and I knew I wasn't going to let anybody know what had happened, because they weren't going to let us go down there and play anymore. So I tried to walk like there was nothing wrong with me, and I wore dresses. Mother made my dresses, and I had a dress on as usual. And I pulled it down real far, on that side, and I was going up the steps, and Mother said, "Come here." And I knew I was caught, and I walked over to her. She said, "Turn around." I turned around, she pulled my dress up, and she said, "What in the world has happened to you?" And I had to tell her, and she cleaned me up, got all the sticks and the dirt and the leaves out. Well, that's the kind of childhood I had. Then when I got old enough for school, Daddy I guess thought I was a queen, I don't know. It was ridiculous. He would not let me associate with the local kids. And they would all work in the field. They'd let school out during the harvest season or whatever season, if it was hoeing, get the weeds out from grass out from around the plants. They let school out until that season was over, and then when they started picking cotton and doing the harvesting, they would let school out again for that. And Woodrow did not want to go to school, and he wasn't going to school, and he had a horse, and he had to ride the horse to telephone from the farm. And so he would go a little way and stop and let it run down the road, get almost to him with a paddle in her hand, and he'd go a little further and stop, a little further and stop. She had to follow him all the way to school to get him there. And then when we moved to telephone, when I was ready for school, Daddy bought a George Washington slept here kind of house. It's not there anymore. It was torn down, which was a sad thing because it was a beautiful, beautiful house, 2-story, and beautiful staircase and Venetian glass doors, double swinging doors going in from the living room to the dining room. It was beautiful. And so
How long did
Ed
you live?
Davis bought it in later years and tore it down
Really?
and built a tacky little bungalow out of the lumber. And it was such a sad thing.
Cotton and Ellie lived.
Oh, it's where Cotton and Ellie lived.
Yeah.
What?
Cotton and Ellie lived in that little house.
Cotton and Ellie lived in that little house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did.
So what was
Right.
telephone like in those days?
It was a real village. We had a post office that was on the corner. There's nothing there now. It's on the north side. and the post office was there. You could see it from our house. Then there was Jess Moore had the drugstore. That was that big building that's still there, and he had. It was like the Peeler. Were you here when Peeler had the drugstore? He had a soda fountain. What do you call it?
Yeah.
Bar.
Uh,
A bar.
a bar that was in there. It was a pretty building, and he sold cold drinks, and so me and my friends liked to collect bottles because we could wash them out and get them real clean and then sell them to Mr. Jess because he used them. Of course, he knew what we were doing, but he'd buy the bottles back and then throw them out back, and we'd pick them up and take them home and wash them, come back to the store and sell them to Mr. Jess.
So it was rotating bottles.
Yeah, they were. And then later years, after Bob and I were married, how old were we and what stage of our life was it when we'd go down with Jess and Vera? On Sundays, we all went to the Methodist church in Telephone. I went to Baptist church when I was growing up because that's the church that Mother was a member of. But she was not there when Jess and Vera came along. And so I went to church with them. We went to the Methodist church.
We'd have lunch together and then drive.
We would go out with Jess and Vera for lunch after church, and then we'd drive around through the country. And she had taught me when I was little in school. She was a school teacher. But they were the dearest friends that we had after we were adults. Well, they never knew Bob until then. But they loved us, and we loved them.
Were they your parents' age, or?
Yes, they were. But they were, well, were they? They were younger than Mother and Daddy, weren't they?
Yeah.
But we would drive on Sunday afternoons. Vera and I'd sit in the back, and every time we'd pass, there were a lot of trees in those days, and there were a lot of fruit trees, wild fruit, growing along the road, and we'd make them stop.
What?
Plum thickets.
Plum thickets, yeah.
And we'd stop. Jess and Bob had to stop. That's all there was to it, and Vera and I'd get out and eat fruit and gather it, take home, and so we drove on Sunday afternoons everywhere. Through the country, down, and we had to stop at every plum tree and pick wild plums. And Jess and Bob would get so aggravated with us, but we had a good time. Vera and I sat in the back. Jess and Bob in the front, never say a word. They just sit there like a couple of posts. And Vera and I were just, going like that. And those were fun days. They really were.
So do you remember what years those were?
Back in the 60s.
60s.
Bob said in the 60s.
Yeah. Now, Jimmy, you went to college.
Yes. Oh, yes. The princess had to be educated because she was going to be a school teacher. That was the height of everybody's ambition in those days, to be a teacher. And I was not born to be a teacher, but I was a teacher. And so we had what was I starting to tell?
The OPC.
Oh, I went to college. Graduated from high school. I went to Bonham High School, but I couldn't ride the bus. Daddy drove a bus to Bonham, brought the telephone kids that had graduated from as far as they went at Telephone and brought them to Bonham School. But I wasn't allowed to ride the bus. That was for the other children. But I boarded in town with Bob's aunt and uncle,
Wait,
great aunt and great uncle. Uncle Bascom and Aunt Sally, they were old and their kids were grown and gone from home. And Ann Duckworth, who was my best friend, she and I, our fathers were visiting together when we were just little girls. And she was with her daddy and I was with my daddy. And we sort of got like this, and we had a little fight. And Daddy sent me home, and her daddy made her sit on the bumper of the car until he got ready to go home. So Ann and I became best friends and just inseparable. If she wasn't at my house, I was at her house, and we were together all the time. She lives in Fort Worth now,
yeah.
and I see her occasionally. She's 6 months older than I am. And of course she married, has children, grandchildren, I guess great-grands by now, because I do. But,
And you went to college then in Bonham?
no, went to college in Durant, Oklahoma. Daddy could take me over there, and I stayed in a dormitory, girls' dorm, where they now have a swimming pool. You can go over there, and the place is still there, and that big fence around it, and it's a real fancy place. And
The headquarters of the Choctaw tribe at the moment.
headquarters for the Choctaw
Out
tribe.
of D.C., which you went.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was very nice. But that's where I went to school. That's where the closest school. And Daddy would come and get me on weekends and take me home. And so he came one weekend and I had a trunk packed. I was not going to school. I was going to go home. And he loaded the trunk in the car, but he said, "You are bringing it back with everything that's in it now, because you're not staying home, you're staying in school." I did everything to stay out of school, but it didn't do any good. He'd haul me back to school. So that's, you can drive over across the bridge to Oklahoma, and the first building, isn't it, on the left, on the west side? Anyway, it's Indian headquarters now.
Now, didn't you do some what they call finishing school in Bonham or something like that?
Oh, I came to Bonham. We only went through the 10th grade there, and there were 12 grades then. And I came to Bonham and boarded and finished high school.
But then when she was in telephone, she took speaking classes from Mrs. Broadfoot.
Yeah, I don't know whether you can understand on the tape what Bob's saying. He reminded me that I took speaking classes. That was Daddy's idea, because I was
Expression
going to
classes.
be, expression classes from Mrs. Broadfoot. Her husband was a lawyer in town, he had
Judge.
big shot, and a judge. And so I took lessons from her, and I became a public speaker. And I was in the plays. We had school plays, end of school. We had big productions. And we had a stage built on the north side of the school, big stage. And we had real productions there. And I played the part of an Indian maiden in one of them, because I was dark-skinned and they could fix me up like an Indian. And so I don't know whether you want this on tape or not. I was practicing, and it was tiring, There were long plays, and I always had a prominent part in them, and I was on the stage a lot, and we up a long time doing that, and I'd come home just dead tired. Oh, I was just worn out. And Mother kept boarders. Traveling salesmen would come through selling their wares to the stores, and it was late for them to go on to the next village, so they would board at Mother's. They would come there because she was an excellent cook, and they got big meals, and the house was pretty. It was a beautiful house, and they had nice rooms and beds, and they were well taken care of.
Tell about Broadfoot. Miss.
Oh, Mrs. Broadfoot.
And then your play, you being the Indian
Oh,
maiden.
I was in the play, and then when I came to Bonham, I did public speaking, and we had declamation contests. All of the schools in the county would enter their speakers, and we would have a contest, and I always won. And Bob was in the school, sitting in the audience. I didn't know him. He was a Bonham boy, and I was a country girl. And so he was in the audience, and he said to himself, "I'm going to marry that girl." And so when I came to Bonham, he got a mutual friend of ours, young man that was raised down on the river, the Red River, at the time I was growing up, and for years had a bridge over the Red River. But they had a house built just south of the bridge toward Telephone. And they hired a couple to live there and take the tolls. It was a toll bridge. And open the gates and let cars go through and so on.
So Bill Freeman, the son, introduced us.
That's their son. What was his name, Bob?
Bill Freeman.
Bill Freeman. He was later in Bonham, a very prominent man here. But he lived down there at the time. He was the son of the keepers of the gate. And so Bob got him to introduce us when I came to school in Bonham. And so...
So when you were in the declamation...
Yes, I was declaiming, and he saw me, and he said, "I want to meet that girl." And so he met me through Bill Freeman. And so I was boarding. Daddy drove a bus to Bonham and brought kids, but I was not allowed to ride a bus.
So you stayed in Bonham
So
all
I
week.
boarded in Bonham, and I boarded with Aunt Sally and Uncle Bascom Adams. They were very prominent people in Bonham. He was a lawyer, wasn't he, Bob?
He was the head of Abstract Company. And
Head of a what?
Abstract Company.
Abstract Company.
And county surveyor.
Yeah. So he was very prominent, very well known, and his wife was quite a lady. She was a real belle of the ball. They were old by the time I moved. I boarded with them. And that was his aunt, Bob's aunt and uncle. And so he would park in front of their house and play his guitar. He had a loudspeaker on it, and it could make lots of noise, and he serenaded me.
And did that work?
It worked. It worked very well. So we started dating later. I don't know how much later. I was still living in Telephone, wasn't I? When you started dating me, didn't you come to Telephone?
Well, I came to Telephone, but you were...
I boarded
You were
in
living
Bonham
at
and
home.
went to school. Daddy wouldn't let me ride the bus. So
So then, how long did you guys date before you got married?
About 5 years off and on.
5 years off and on.
we were in college at 19. And
And then when you...
weren't we 19 when we married?
37.
1937? Is that what you're saying?
And then, but you after you graduated from Durant, what happened?
I went to Denton to school.
And did you
girls'
finish there?
School, yeah. And I was a teacher.
And where were you teaching?
I taught at Gum Springs.
How long did you do that? 1.5 years. So what was it like to teach there? Tell me about that.
Well, it was miserable for me because I was a two-room teachers, and she had I wouldn't call her a lady, woman that lived in telephone, and so she had the older group, and I had the little ones. Started, and some of them were kindergartners, really. What's the name of that man in telephone that always, he was, where east of telephone, where does he live? Anyway, he embarrasses me to death.
Billy Jack.
Billy Jack something. And he's a grown man now, but he still embarrasses me. But he was, what was I going to tell about him, Daddy? Oh, he was just a little baby. I mean, he was too young to be in kindergarten, but the mother sent him, and in those days, you just took whatever the mother sent. And so I had him as a tot. And he would go home with me and spend the night. He got to sleep with me. And in later years, he's big mouth and just a coarse country guy now. And he just embarrasses me to death every time I see him. And I went into, what was the name of that store before
Safeway.
Walmart?
Safeway.
Safeway before Walmart. And it was on the corner of the square. And I was in there checking out, and he came in, and in this thundering voice, he said, "Well, Jimmy Lee," no, that was, anyway, he embarrassed me.
So what did he say?
Oh, he just coarse yelled at me. I don't know. He just,
He said, I slept with your wife.
Oh,
before you
that's
did."
what he said. I slept with your, to Bob, I slept with your wife before you did.
It embarrassed you, didn't it?
Oh, it embarrassed the tar out of me, embarrassed Bob. It was awful. He was, and he's still that way. We were out there not too long ago. What was the name of the lady that ran for office here?
Judge Laurie Blake.
What?
Judge Laurie Blake.
Judge Laurie Blake here in Bonham was, what was I going to say about her?
You were out there and you saw
He
him.
was,
Oh, yes. We went out to her home recently, and in recent months, and to some kind of gathering. It was just a mob of people there. And this guy that I taught when he was a baby was there. And it was the usual loudmouth stuff, you know, and the rooms were just filled with people. And he has a thundering voice.
So after you finished teaching there, what happened?
marriage.
Marriage, yeah. That's right. Bob saw me, and I was doing contest between schools of public speakers, and I was speaking. And he asked a friend, both of us lived out in the country, asked him to introduce him, and he did. And
Then
he
you got married what year?
started dating in
1937.
1937. He went to Texas University, and I went to
North Texas.
North Texas State. So he came in his car to date me over there, and we married,
And then where did you go? Where did you go to live?
Houston.
Venice. Oh, Houston was our first home. That's where Donna was born,
Okay.
in Houston.
And tell me about living in Houston. How was that?
It was a big city. I mean, of course, it's much bigger now, but it was a big city in those days, too. Big for the size that cities were. And we lived in a garage apartment. It was our first home. And the staircase went up the side of the building, and then you walked into the house. And that's where we lived. We paid what? How much rent did we pay?
I think it's $25.
$25 a month.
Wow.
That was how many years ago?
70.
70 years ago, so it's quite a difference. But anyway, it was, and he came in one day from the office. He worked at Humble, wasn't it? Humble Oil Company in Houston, that's where we lived. And he came in from the office, and he was chewing gum. And I said, I want some chewing gum. Mind you, we were 19 years old. And he said, I don't have any. Somebody gave me this, and it's all I have. And he stuck it out at me, and I bit it off and chewed it. And he went straight to the bed and laid down, and his fever shot up to 105. And he had the first case of strep throat, and people were dying in those days because they didn't know what to do with it. And so the medication the doctor used, he came up this stair thing, and he changed clothes, I guess, to come in, and because Bob was really, really seriously ill, in danger of death. And he came and took care of him. And it was the beginning of, what was that drug?
Neopontosil,
Neo-
which was a forerunner of sulfanilamide.
Neopontosil, forerunner of
Which was a dye.
sulfanilamide.
And dyed everything purple.
And it had dye in it of some kind, purple. And everything he touched, where he walked to go to the bathroom, everything was purple. And all the sheets, all the bedding, everything. And of course I caught it. I mean, there was no way in that tiny little apartment. And I had, when he came in from work, from the office, he was sick and came in, and his fever was 105 then. And I didn't know he was sick. I met him in the hall and kissed him, so I got strep throat. And so we had, the medicine they gave us was purple, and everything we touched was purple. The bed, the sheets, everything, and walk into the bathroom, and it was purple. The path, we just spread the purple everywhere.
So you had it too? Huh?
Yeah, of course I came down with it too.
Now, how long did you live in Houston? 4 years.
4 years.
And then where did you go?
Dallas.
Dallas. Oh yeah, Dallas, and he worked for, there was a Mobil oil company in those days.
Core Laboratories.
Core Labs, the first place he worked. Core Laboratories.
Well, I'm going to have him tell me.
Okay.
So, but then you went to Venezuela.
Yeah, that's our first foreign assignment was
Okay.
Venezuela.
And how was that? Tell me about Venezuela.
It was very different than the way it is now. We had, Bob, you have more memories of Venezuela than I do.
Well, what's your most vivid memory? What was it like?
it was exciting. I remember thinking it was, it was foreign, and that was exciting to do.
I remember.
Bob can tell about that. I
Okay.
can't remember.
And then I remember a plane trip. You came home with your kids.
Yes, oh yes. I came home and they were toddlers. And of course, they didn't have, I had double seats, and both of them had one seat and I had the other one. And the stewardess came by and gave us all orange juice. And she handed them to the kids before I could intervene. And Bob just reached over and turned his upside down on Donna's head. And she had blonde, it was white, wasn't blonde, it was white hair, just snow white. And beautiful hair, but it sure was pretty with the orange juice on it. All over her clothes. And we were on our way to visit Bob. He had gone ahead to the job and got a house and everything, and then we joined him. And I was traveling with the kids to meet him, and I knew he'd be at the airport with a bunch of his friends. And here was Donna, our head soaked with orange juice, and all over, Bob just fixed her up good. And of course he messed up too. And I got off the place. I had orange juice all over me, and Donna was soaked in it, and Bob was a mess, and he had friends there to meet us. Yeah. And they had to stand out in those days away from the passengers. And we got out, and I just ran as hard as I could go to him and just threw myself on him and started crying. I was exhausted, and I was so tired of those kids I could have pinched their heads off. So Bob got the brunt of it. Oh, we had wonderful times in those days. It wasn't like foreign work now, I can tell you for sure. We had it was really built for, that was another country, wasn't it? Where the house was built for servants.
No, that was Venezuela.
Venezuela. It was the first place. And the houses were little bungalow type things. There were 3 of them or 4 in a row.
They were duplexes and for labor house. But,
What?
They knocked this door out in between for our first house, so we lived in a double duplex.
That was Houston, wasn't it?
That's Venezuela.
Venezuela, yeah.
And I heard that you used to go sunbathing in Venezuela.
Yes, I did.
Tell us about that.
Well, at that time we were gente decente. We were way up in the oil business, and so we were revered, you might say. And so we were living in a big 2-story house out in the country.
Country club. Country club.
Oh, I'm thinking, yeah, a country club. That's what it was. And
You were sunbathing on top.
huh?
You were sunbathing on top of it.
Oh, yeah, we had a big 2-story house, and servants all over the place. I remember going up the steps with the servants trying to get all the way up. I go up to the roof and sunbathe nude because it was a beautiful deck up there, had sides built up and all concrete and smooth and kept nice. And so I would sunbathe. I was going to see how brown I could get. And I looked like a mulatto. I could have passed for a Negro. I really got burned all over because I sunbathed nude. And one day I was up there sunbathing, and I had my eyes closed and was just drinking that sun in. And I became aware of a motor. And I opened my eyes, and there was an airplane flying real low, and he dipped his, I grabbed for cover, and he dipped his wing and flew away.
He was having some sight, wasn't
Yes, he was having a frolic going back and forth over me, down low.
he? That's
So I'm sure that I was quite a sight.
good. I bet you were.
But I got brown,
That's good.
and that deck had on the roof had built up walls so high, concrete, and they had plants on that.
Orchid plants.
Yeah,
And then, how many years did you live in Iran?
11.
11 years.
And that was after Venezuela.
Yeah.
Do you remember what year you went to Iran?
65.
1965. And we were henty dissenty there.
And
Bob had gone up in the oil business.
so what do you remember about Iran?
What do I remember, Bob?
Well, you lived, did you live in Tehran all the time, or did you live in Khuzestan?
Kyrgyzstan for the first 6 months, and Majid Suleiman.
Masjid-e-Suleiman.
Yeah.
Masjid-e-Suleiman for 6 months. And then we moved to Tehran.
Tehran. Well, what do you remember about Iran?
Well, we had servants, and I had a black man that did the outside part and helped with whatever was needed in the house, and had a maid that she did everything. And Maria Matuti.
And that's Venezuela.
Oh, I'm going to Venezuela now. I was supposed to be in Iran, wasn't I? In Iran, the kids were little, and our house, not too far from our house, was a canyon-like thing. Was it what you'd call it, Bob? Where the people lived, the
That
native
was
children.
Venezuela.
Huh?
That was in Venezuela.
That's in Venezuela.
Well, tell about that.
Anyway, the kids were little, and they were playing out there. And all of a sudden, Donna came bursting through the front door, saying, "Daddy, come." What was his name? Oh, I had his name right on the end of my tongue. Another kid that they played with said, "He's choking Bob, and he's killing him." And boy, Bob shot out of that house and down there, and sure enough, he had him down on his back, and he was straddling him, choking him. So really, he would have killed him if Bob hadn't gotten out there. So, but they played, these were native kids, and sort of grew up in a hut, and they were pretty wild. But, Bob and Donna really grew up in foreign work. We bought the farm, and we lived in that house, didn't we? Right on the creek ran along there. Nicest water. Oh, it was good.
And that was in
Came
telephone.
out.
That was telephone?
Yeah.
Where was it, Bob?
Yes. South telephone.
South of telephone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on a hill, the house was. And I brought a parrot home with me. I had a parrot that talked. And she'd mock me, you know, and her voice sounded like me. And so I brought her home with me and had to keep her in quarantine for a while and go through a mess of stuff, but I brought her. And she would sit in the tree during the day, then she'd come down and I'd put her in her cage in the house when the wild animals would come out. And we were gone somewhere and didn't get home as early as we thought we would. It was after dark. And the wolves, or whatever it was, had gotten her. There's feathers all over everywhere. So she fought like crazy, but she was dead. He had eaten her head off.
Oh.
But that was a sad time because Lorita was just our life. We just loved her. And she'd just talk of a blue storm. And she loved us, and we brought her home with us. And she died. A horrible death.
Goodness.
Hmm.
So how long did you have the farm there south of Telephone?
Bob, it's your turn.
Bought it in the 30s and sold it in 65, I think.
So bought it. It was during the time you were in Venezuela.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We spent our vacations there. It was a nice little bungalow and really, really nice. And when we were gone back to work, the couple that I mentioned before, Jess and Vera Moore, took care of it. Jess took care of the farmland, and Vera would clean the house and see that it was kept properly. So it was nice.
And then your kids grew up with their son, right? And your
Yeah,
kids would stay
right.
with
Right.
the Moores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what would you say is the guiding principle of your life, Jimmy? What's guided you through life?
I guess a desire to succeed and be considered important people was original. We were just 19 when we married. And Bob was climbing very fast in the oil business, and we were gente decente, as they said then, special people. And what question did you ask me?
What was your guiding principle
Oh.
through your life?
Then later, well, we were Christian, or we were so-called Christians, I guess you'd say. And when we were home, we went to church and Sunday school and BYPU, or whatever the Methodists call it. He went to the Methodist church, and I went to the Baptist. And we wandered away from that in the oil business and became socialites. And then we graduated from that to reality. And we just plain old Bob and Jimmy.
So what made that happen, that you went from being socialite?
Well, it was the atmosphere that we were in. He was the big shot in the oil business, and he had entertained people, and Gente Decente and the big chief when he'd come, and we had a beautiful home and
So when
sterling silver and, the whole works that went with it.
When you changed out of that way of life, what happened? What made you change from?
Going to Bible study.
What poke my memory about it.
Bible study with the Presbyterian missionaries in Carolina.
You need to tell it. Well,
Well, I'll have him tell. But when you sort of went away from being a socialite to being more what you are now, how did that happen?
Just came into a deeper walk with the Lord.
we were, where were we? We were,
Tehran.
Tehran, and we started going with a Christian group. We had close Christian friends there, and they were very devout, the group that we socialized with. And so we went to church with them and came into the reality of what a Christian is and began to live a Christian life.
Changed it.
Changed us, right. And we had missionaries that came through and spoke, and it was a very Christian. We had a Bible study in our home. Well, you taught a Bible study in our home in Venezuela.
Tehran.
Tehran. How about that?
Right.
So you can tell about that.
Sure. Jimmy, would you say that you've loved your life? How do you feel about if you're going to describe your life, how would you describe it?
Well, at that point in our lives, we were climbing in the social world. And Bob was a big shot, and I was his wife. And so we did a lot of entertaining and a lot of, what people do when they're the head chief. And so we just wandered away from the Lord. I mean, we just became worldly, totally.
So you look back on your life, what would you change?
Well, at the age and stage I was at that time, so it's me you're talking to, I wouldn't have changed it. But what really changed us, Bob? My memory is not.
That's all
it's
right.
Going.
So have you enjoyed your life, Jimmy?
Oh yes, very much.
And what would you tell people that are getting started in life now? What advice would you give them?
Well, my advice now would be to get with Christians and celebrate. Instead of that, we were wild as they come. And when we grew up, we became Christians. And I, of course, had been raised, and he had too. He was raised in the Methodist Church here in Bonham. And I was raised in the Baptist Church at Telephone. And Mother was a very devout Christian. Daddy went to church for several years, but he wandered away. But Mother continued as long as she lived. She was a very devout lady. And she was Baptist.
Well, Jimmy, I sure appreciate you doing this interview today, and you've given us a lot of really wonderful insight into your life. And I'll probably have more questions at another point that I'd like to ask you about. And so we'll do it again. But we've done over an hour today already, so it's terrific.
Well, I'm sorry my memory has gotten so bad, and my mind is not what it used to be.
But you're now...
I have Alzheimer's.
Do you?
I do.
Well...
And it's advancing.
Well, you're able to speak well. You don't always remember everything.
My memory I don't have a good memory. But if Bob's around, he's my brain.
Is he?
Yeah,
Has he always been your brain?
He's still, oh yes. He was a brain when I met him, and I was just a pretty girl.
Well, you're pretty cute now, I think.
At least he thought I was pretty.
Did he? Did he tell you that?
Oh yes.
Did he? What did he say?
I'm not going to tell you.
You're not going to tell me. I see. Well, I want to know.
Well, you can remember what you told Jackie.
I see. Okay. Well, I'm going to do Bob Old at another week, and so we'll conclude this today. And thank you, Jimmy.
Good.
Really.
Well, I'm sorry I've been so halting in
You
telling
haven't.
it. My memory is not what it used to be, and
But you're still as cute as you were.
my still what?
As cute as
Oh,
you used to be.
as cute as I used to be. I'm cute.
All right.
So, this and Vera Moore, they're been dead long time ago. But when we came back, she was my teacher when I was little. She was a school teacher. And so we became very close friends when we moved to telephone.
And this was what she wrote?
Yeah.
Can you read it?
Yeah. To my darling Jimmy at Christmas time, 1958. This year, especially since June, has been one of the happiest I've ever experienced. One of the outstanding reasons is because we have had the wonderful Olds with us. You have no idea, Jimmy, how much that has meant. I don't have my glasses on. To be near you, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble reading. I don't have my glasses. Start over?
Yeah.
To my darling Jimmy at Christmas time, 1958. This year, especially since June, has been one of the happiest I've ever experienced. One of the outstanding reasons is because we've had the wonderful Olds with us. You have no idea, Jimmy, just how much you mean to me, or how much I'm going to miss you and Bob when you're gone. There will always be a very warm and closely guarded place in my heart for you, and no one else will ever fill it. You're like my very own dear daughter. May God keep a very close watch over you and yours and richly bless your future. Just don't forget that you're ours and dearly beloved. Keep yourselves always as sweet as you are now. Most affectionately, Veery Maud. Her name was Vera, and we teased her and called her Veery Maud, and she signed it that way. I made a little note down there. Veery Maud was Vera Moore. And she and her husband, Jess Sr., were very close, dear to our heart in Telephone, Texas. Anyway, I just thought you'd be interested in that. Started a long time ago, and I have practically nothing in it. And by the way, I'd like you, if you want to take it home with you, and you and Jackie write in it, okay?
Sure.
Because it's just full of stuff.
That'd be great.
That from old back, so all way back. So
Sure. We'll
this starts in 2008 here. I guess that was the only one in here.